Welcome everybody to the third AGS Weekly Dialogue. In this series, we get to know our members and their change-making initiative a bit better in a question and answer format. In the first 20 minutes, I will chat with our guest and ask him some questions. In the next 20 minutes, we will open to the floor and let anyone present to ask our guests any questions that they may have. And these first two segments are being recorded for those who are not able to attend today. And the last segment will be 20 minutes chat with GM, where anyone here can ask Vincent any questions they may have or raise any ideas or give him any feedback to him directly. This last segment will not be recorded. Okay, so let's get started. Our guest for today is Zhong Han, who started the WTS community. WTS stands for what the shit? No, I mean it stands for We Tell Stories, and his change-making initiative. What his change-making initiative does is to tell stories that make audiences go, what the shit? And I didn't know that kind of thing, right? So thank you, Zhong Han, for agreeing to be our guest today. Perhaps you can tell us a bit more about yourself.
Sure, I actually have a point to add on what you just shared about the name. Maybe I'll do that first and I'll talk a little more about myself. So actually the name, right, was... the idea behind the name was that we wanted to be a bit cheeky, I think, with the whole kind of brand, and like what you said, I think the idea is that the content we create the intent of the content that we create is to try to shed light on new perspectives so people can walk away with kind of like a new mindset on a certain issue. So one example is we did a video on blood donations with Red Cross, and a friend watched our video and then he texted like, wow, I didn't know that we needed blood for all these other users. Like for example, people with certain diseases might need blood on a regular basis. So they need regular blood transfusions, which makes like that bare minimum demand for blood on a weekly money basis. Yeah. So he was like, wow, I didn't know that. And I think like that was really what we were trying to go for. So I think, yeah, I was quite heartened to hear that. So a bit about me, my name is Zhong Han. Right now I'm a part-time student with SUSS doing social work. And I run detailed stories on the side. Yeah, we do content with a range of stakeholders, largely supporting non-profits to help to tell their stories so they can do the work they do best on the ground and focus on that work. Yeah, so we create video content. Recently, we are exploring comic strips for Instagram. A bit about my own background. Previously, started my journey being a volunteer. So started volunteering in school over time, brought friends together to run initiatives, and then tried to work on a social enterprise for a bit and also work overseas for a bit. And right now I'm doing training work. So I run workshops, I facilitate workshops. Yeah.
Okay. You sound like somebody who's tried lots of different things. So I would say that your main income generation right now is facilitating workshops. What kind of workshops do you facilitate?
So a bit about me and workshops. So usually when I do like a travel trip overseas, I will come back and I will try to put everything together to organize a workshop. So, for example, for my trips that I went to in India and China, where I went to understand more about social enterprises, or I went to understand more about food systems, I will come back and I came back and I organized a workshop. So I think that was where things really started. I think I really enjoyed that process of designing and running workshops. And right now I'm trying to design and run my own workshops. So kind of like piecing together all the things I've been learning throughout the years on different causes. Throughout my volunteering journey with different causes, different beneficiary groups, and my journeys overseas, learning different frameworks, approaches. So there's that piece, more personal, the workshops that I'm designing myself. I also work with multiple companies doing workshops for schools, corporates. So those range quite a bit. It can be from working with school leaders to working on them on design thinking. Yeah, so it can be quite a range. Yeah.
Okay. So coming back to your WTS community, how do you choose what stories to tell?
Right now, I'm running it as an individual and I work with freelancers. So I get grant money, and the idea was to kind of provide some form of employment at the same time benefit nonprofits. So I get grant money and then I pay freelancers, and I work as like a middleman to kind of coordinate the needs of the nonprofits and communicate that to the freelancer. We work very closely with freelancers. So at the start, we had a team of about a dozen volunteers, and the volunteers could suggest, we would discuss, we'll cuddle together and we'll suggest on Zoom. Funny thing is that all the first batch of volunteers, 100% online. We haven't even met each other in person yet. For about 90% of them. So it's 100% recruitment online, 100% everything was done online through Zoom. Because of COVID. That was for the first year of COVID that we ran. And for that year, a lot of the content was decided by the team. So we huddle and discuss what are some feasible topics for the content, what are some issues that are arising. For example, at one point, I think one team member suggested, hey, I think we should take a look at dengue because everyone is so fixated on COVID, but what about dengue, right? Because more people are staying at home due to COVID. That also means that because more people are staying at home, they're more susceptible to mosquito bites during the daytime. So that was one issue. Eventually, there was a period in time when the number of dengue cases surged quite exponentially. And then, so we did one video with NEA and dengue, and that was pretty educational for myself also to learn more. So right now, it's more of whoever comes to us for support. So we have 1 or 2 videos that are coming up in the pipeline, but that one is more of like people approach us to what we've done, and then I thought, okay, it's a good cause.
So who are your target audiences?
So typically we produce the videos for the nonprofits for their audience. To be frank, we've been trying very hard to grow our audience, but I think I'll be very transparent here. I think I'm a big proponent of like talking openly about failure. So I think for us, I think if you check our social media handles, right, we are slowly growing. Like week on week, we still see 2 to 3 likes on Instagram, but overall, we are actually very low in terms of follower count. Previously, I ran another like content page on Instagram called Stone Soup SG, and that ran a lot better because I think the content really resonated with you. Back then, the content was about quotes about positivity, and we also crowdsourced stories from the public about kindness, and that blew up to more than 1.5K followers within like a few months. But the issue for WTS, I think, and I suspect after getting feedback from friends and whatnot, is that our content tends to be more preachy. So we tell people, hey, there's this social issue, there's this environmental issue, let's hear from the expert. And then we talk, but not entertaining at all. And then people are like, I think our target audience is young people. By right, we're supposed to be targeting youth in Singapore, so 15 to 35 years old. But yeah, it didn't really work out. Like, we are sub 100, we are slightly below 100 subscribers on YouTube. Facebook and Instagram, I think about close to 500 or 400-ish. So not too much growth given that we've been producing videos for quite a long time. So I think on that front, I'm also thinking after this particular grant round. So I'm running on the second grant round for retail stories, and we have like a pool of grant money, right? And I'm thinking after this pool of grant money, we would try to create our own content. So I'll try to get a team together and we work on our own content instead of working with freelancers. So we really focus on creating our own content, perhaps give it a more like youth spin, perhaps even create a separate channel entirely to kind of really look at audience first content that people actually watch. Because I think what we've been doing is we focus too much on education and less on entertainment, right? So the entertainment value was very low.
Okay, cool. Okay, that sets us up for my next question. So we've been talking a lot about the present. I want to take us a bit further. So imagine that we were having this conversation in 3 years from now. That would put us in 2025. So looking back over these past 3 years, back to today, what must have happened in the WTS community for you to be happy with the progress?
I think in the ideal scenario, it should have a healthy number of followers. I think the beauty, that was I think the long-term vision since the beginning, to build a strong pool of a community online that really supports the things that we talk about, and then from there, whether it is working with brands that align with our values, or doing ad hoc videos that can generate other sources of revenue that can sustain the team. I think that was the idea, but we are nowhere near there. So I think ideally, in 3 years' time, if we can hit that state where we have a large enough follower base plus sustainable source of revenue to kind of sustain the team, whether it's on a part-time basis or full-time basis, I think that would be great. So hopefully a larger following, and hopefully interesting content that keeps people engaged, and like a team that's like a closely knitted team that's together. Yeah. On that point, I wanted to talk about this. So recently I read this article on by this organization startup called Gumroad, and they talk about how they hire people on quarter time or even half time basis. So the idea is that I'm not sure you've heard of this concept before. So the idea is really they pay people on a per hour basis, and you have a limited number of hours you can work per week. If you OT, you actually get less pay per hour. So for example, in this case, someone that is at home caring for their family could work for 20 hours a week instead of the typical 40 hours a week, right? 48 times 5 is 40. So typical 40 hours per week, and work half time. So 20 hours a week, and they get paid accordingly. So maybe $20, $30 per hour, according to the level of experience, and then they get paid that lump sum. And then I remember they spoke something like they hired like someone more senior level to join as a senior member of the management, and then he was paid, I think, $250 per hour. So he worked half time, and then that's about 5K a week, 20K a month, 100 plus K a year, 20K a month, about 200 plus K a year, compared to his previous salary, which was a lot more because he was working full time. But I think they opted for a slower pace of life where they could pay attention to their family, pay attention to their children, to spare that time and energy for other endeavors that they are passionate about. I think I'm also open to that arrangement. I think that was quite an interesting arrangement, especially with, I think, increasingly I see friends that have babies and married, or they're very busy taking care of the baby. It's very tiring, and like being parents, especially mothers who are at home to care for their children, I think it's increasingly difficult for them to have full-time employment because they need to take care of the house. If the soya sauce run out, who buy? Or the toilet paper run out, who will buy, right? And then anything happened to the kid recently with COVID, if the kid school has a single case of COVID, the kid will be sent home. Then who take care? The children the parents have to, one of them need to take off or leave, right? To come home to take care of the child at home. So it's been very disruptive, and I think increasingly we see that the caregiving burden on the family is quite heavy. Yeah. So this half-time, quarter-time thing is something I'm exploring, to work with freelancers on a sustained basis where it doesn't take up the full time. It gives them time to explore other endeavors. Yeah, so that's something I'm quite excited about. Yeah.
Cool. I used to hire a virtual assistant who worked in the Philippines 4 hours a day. And then she got a pretty decent salary, actually higher than what she used to work in full time in her own country. And she could do her own thing and her own time, because a lot of the work that I had for her was not based on a particular time. She could do it whenever she had time, when the kids were sleeping or whatever.
That's nice. Was this with the financial advisor work that you did last time?
Yeah, correct. I needed somebody to help me file documents, call the insurance company, set appointments and stuff like that.
I see.
And I didn't need her to be physically present to photocopy or whatever anything. So it's just purely virtual. So she worked in Manila all this time.
Nice.
Yeah. I did get to meet her once when she came to Singapore. But okay, coming back to you. So what I hear you say is that you want to have a healthy number of followers, and to be able to be able to make videos that can generate some sustainable revenue, have a team that's either full-time or part-time or even quarter-time. Can I have an idea of when you say a healthy number of followers, do you have a number in mind?
I think the more the merrier, right? It's like money, right? I wouldn't complain if it's more.
Well,
But
that's true. But
talking about minimum number, I think it also depends on like how much videos are churning out, for what sustained basis, how much effort I'm putting in. If you're putting in one video a week, a month, right, I wouldn't expect the growth to be exponential now, unless you make really, really crazy type videos and get viral. But otherwise, I think like 5, 10K within 1 year is like quite an accomplishment already.
Okay. 5 to 10K in 1 year, then in 3 years?
I don't know, 20, 30, hopefully. I don't know. It's very hard to project. I think, I think one thing in social media is that you need to consistently produce content, and to be frank, that has been very stressful and tiring.
Yes.
So during the time that we were super active, right now we are not really active because I'm taking it at a slower pace. I'm intentionally slowing down. But back then when we were, the dozen of volunteers, the research team, the content team, social media team, and then I was coordinating all 3 teams, pushing very hard. I was actually doing it full time. I was doing it full time for at least 6 months. And we were pushing out videos almost one every month, or sometimes twice a month. But there's actually a lot of work on the back end.
I know making videos is really time consuming, and it's even more so if you're making short videos. Long videos you don't have to edit it so much, but short videos.
I really have to capture their attention. So I'm thinking, if for example on the second year, right, if the team feels that let's say we have a team renewal, whatnot, and then that might affect the follower count also, because we might not be producing videos for 1 or 2 months, right? And also I'm thinking I think there's a lot of things that I've not thought about. So maybe the content we create, and also like what you mentioned, can be a bit lighter on the team, like not too intensive for the team. Or another idea is like multiple teams, right? There's like 3 or 4 teams that produce 1 video every 2 weeks, or 1 video every month. Then we rotate so that there's some mix, and then we just need to produce, each team only need to produce 1 video every 2 months, or something like that. Right?
You can make 2 videos, 2-minute videos every 2 weeks.
Yeah, something like that. 2. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So basically, you want to have as many followers as you can, but you're looking at a range of about 5 to 10K, and to generate you revenue of how much do you need?
I don't think there's a hard number, but I think maybe ideally like at least 10-20K a month, because we need to pay 3 to 4 people salary.
Okay. So that at least gives us an idea of how much revenue a person run this kind of thing.
I think 500K annually would be a good target if you want to build a small team.
Currently, when you make videos for non-profits, do you charge them? No. Okay. Is there a plan to charge them in the future?
So right now, we get grant money, and then we use grant money to pay freelancers to create the content for the non-profits.
Okay.
So it's completely FOC for the non-profit. They just need to give us the time. They need to help us to source for maybe beneficiaries, and we do the content 100% free for them.
Okay. But grants are not sustainable.
Correct. So in the long term, I think we might. I've thought of the idea, if we do corporate CSR videos and then we use the surplus to do free for non-profits. Because to be very frank, non-profits don't really have the funding. Most non-profits, smaller ones especially, don't really have the funding to do that kind of work, or to do that kind of videos. Because videos can be very expensive. The 5-minute video can be like 5-10K. Like 5-minute video can be 5-10K. So I don't know. I'm not too sure what model we might go with, but for now, trying to use the grant money. The revenue stream would ideally be from brand collaboration in the long term. We can charge non-profits a nominal fee, but I don't think we'll charge them market rate, because I think it's it's a cause that we want to try to commit to, like helping them to share their stories.
What drives you to want to help non-profits?
I think sometimes there's that idea that, wow, they're doing amazing work, and I kind of want to share that, hey, there's this amazing organization that does this amazing work, and let's support them. Right? So the idea, I think, through the videos is also we try to have a call to action at the end of every video. So one example that came to mind is Caregivers Alliance Limited. So Caregivers Alliance Limited, they have this amazing program called the C2C program, where they train caregivers. It can be caregivers of persons with dementia or caregivers of persons with mental health issues, and they train them. They build a community of support. So it's a support network, and they bring them out for recreational, events, etc. So the idea is to really give them support, because caregivers many a times they see it as their moral responsibility to care for their aged parents, and sometimes it can take a mental toll on the caregivers themselves, right? So this C2C has been a very powerful program for a lot of the caregivers. We spoke to 2 of the caregivers in a series that we did with them, and they shared about their experience with C2C, their experience as a caregiver, and how that program really helped them a lot. And now they picked up hobbies like baking, playing music, going for a stroll in the park. They no longer see it as a sense of guilt if they were to leave to take a break from taking care of their aged parents. Because previously they would share that, wow, if I leave my mom for half an hour, I'll feel very guilty, I'm selfish. But the truth is you need that to kind of like restore your own energy levels and like take a break and relieve yourself a bit. Because you cannot be really 24 hours taking care of your aged parents. It will really take a toll on you. Yeah, so I think that was one. We highlighted that program hopefully to also channel volunteers, to channel donations, and to channel people who need help to go for those programs. Right? So maybe if someone watched the video and then they say, hey, my friend's mother who they take care of the grandfather, maybe I can recommend her to go for this program, right? So I think that's the kind of idea also. Beyond donations and volunteers, we're also looking at directing beneficiaries or people who need support to those programs that non-profits have, because they are so focused on the work that they may not have the time and energy or the funds to engage a professional PR, marketing, marcoms kind of agency to help them to do the storytelling. So I think that's one piece, and many of them are not super well connected in the media space. Yeah.
All right, I have so many more questions I want to ask you, but first I want to I'll turn the time over to the floor to whoever's listening right now. Vincent, I think you have a question. So anybody else who has a question, you can just type in the chat, or you can raise your hand. And let's hear from Vincent.
Hey, hello everyone. Sorry, I'm outside now, but my question is, I type in the chat as well. So the question that Daniel asked just now for Zhong Han, 3 years, right? What must have happened for you in 3 years time? So I maybe ask this question: what does Zhong Han, the man, not the founder of WTS, wish to create for himself in 3 years time?
Okay, Zhong Han.
I was trying to unmute, but I couldn't unmute. Yeah, I can unmute now. Okay, I heard the question. Sorry. I think, thank you for the question. I think many a times as people who want to make a positive difference, right, we tend to be overly consumed by the work that we do. Like we think that, I think sometimes it can get very unhealthy. I think this is also a self-realization that happened not too long ago. The idea that our self-worth is tied to our work, or our self-worth is tied to the impact of our work, right? And personally, I've been in that space, and I think more recently I've been trying to decouple myself from my work and see my works and myself in other ways. So thank you for the question. I think in 3 years, ideally, I move out of my parents' house. I think it will be a lot. I mean, I think it's kind of like a personal goal to save up enough to move out to. I think that's more personal side. In terms of like professional development, I do hope that I can progress in training and facilitation. So hopefully I become someone more recognized in the field, and someone that can command a certain level of respect. When people talk about me, they will say like, they will say things that can build the level of trust, a certain level of trust that other people can have about me, like the perception of me. So that professionally, personally, I hope to have more meaningful and rich relationships with the people around me. Yeah, I think those are largely the three things that I would be focusing on. Yeah. Thanks for the question. So, yeah.
That's a good question. I always ask Vincent. I asked Vincent that question. That's why he's asking you now. So you were saying something?
How about the rest? How about Melia and sorry, I just got to know you. Then your name not on the Zoom, so I need to check my posts. Check your name. Melanie. How about Melia and Melanie?
Actually, yeah, I want to ask. So with WTS, it seems like you don't really associate with one particular social issue or cause that you care about. But I'm wondering, in the years that you've produced all these videos, are there certain communities or issues that you have come to be more fond of, I guess, or care slightly more deeply about?
Thank you for that question. I think there's also one issue that WTS is struggling with. I'll share a bit more later, but direct answer to your question, no. There's not one issue that I am especially passionate about or that I think I want to dedicate my life to. I think so a bit more about me. So I started off my journey volunteering for elderly. And then I volunteered for children. Then I looked into the food space, and that's where I met Daniel. Daniel brought me to a certain place to eat a certain food so that was a very interesting experience to do dumpster diving. You can say that, right, Daniel? Or I need to cut out.
Well, I don't remember. Can you just refresh my memory? Where did I bring you to eat what?
Can say or not?
I don't know what it is, so please go ahead and say it.
Huh?
I don't know what I can't remember what was the thing
I think it was a little India.
Sure.
Yeah, it was very fun. I think you brought me once then. Yeah, it was a little India trip. I think I came with Jing Yin.
Thingy. Okay.
Yeah, that was way back. Yeah. And then I think that really gave me a glimpse into that food space, then so the environment space, then I kind of jump around. I think my philosophy is that all the issues are interconnected and we need to kind of like broaden our understanding of all the issues. So that's the come from. So I don't really have one issue that I focus my energy on. But that is also an issue because when people watch WTS, they're like, you're all over the place. Are you focused on environment issues? Or are you focused on this? Are you focused on that? What are you focused on? Then it's very hard for me to explain that what we're trying to push for is that to look at things from an interdisciplinary, interconnected kind of like point of view. Because things are like that, right? One example, dengue blood donations might be linked, right? If there's a crazy spike in dengue infection in Singapore, blood donations might be affected. Caregivers and blood donations also might be related, right? Not enough blood, then the elderly, aging population, increase in elderly with dementia, increase in elderly with mental health issues, and then there might be an increase in the need for healthcare services, an increase in the demand for blood, for example, a shrinking youth population, etc., things like that. So I think all the issues are somewhat interconnected, right? So I'm trying to advocate for people to see those interconnections and work with them. Yeah. So I don't really have one issue that I'm super passionate about. It's more of big love for everything. Yeah. Thanks, Melia, for the question.
I would say the issue that you're focusing on is really on storytelling, right?
Yes.
Highlighting all these different issues, finding where the different points that they meet, and trying to get the story out so that more people be aware of the issues, right?
Yes.
So you do have that one thing that you're focusing on. That's the medium but through which all these stories are told, right?
I think
I also hear that you're volunteering with MP Louis Ng about something. Is it still on?
Sorry, which one? Sorry.
I also hear that you're volunteering with MP Louis Ng about something.
Oh.
You still doing that? Can you talk about that?
I'm not super active right now, but previously was looking at the food issue. right? I think I reached out to you to check in to explore more about the possibilities of feasibility of a good Samaritan law, or like how might that look like, right? So we're not too sure how that might go. I'm not too sure how that might go. So did some social work related. Attended a few sessions to hear.
So for those who are listening, not familiar with this, basically MP Lee Zhong is trying to table a bill on the Good Samaritan Food Donation Act, which absolves businesses or the food donors of any potential liabilities if people were to consume the food that is donated and fell sick or died or something bad would happen to it. It turns out there's a lot more to coming out with such a law that anybody else, even the MP, thought. So Zhong Han has been helping him to do some research, trying to get some people who are more knowledgeable about this to attend focus groups, I think, which I have not been able to attend because of timing. But that's what he's been doing. Anyone else has a question for Zhong Han?
Oh yeah, I do have a question. So my question is which content or which video went the most viral for retail stories, right? And like, why do you think that was the video that made it?
Okay, so to be very honest, we at some points we decided that our follower count was low, right? And then we couldn't really get a lot of views. So what we did was we made use of social media boosts. So we use Google ads, and we also use Facebook ads. So we use money to try to push it out to more people, right? So when we did that, in terms of the most number of views, I think it was videos related to food. Yeah, so I think two videos come to mind, like those that really hit very high numbers. One was a story about an initiative during the first Ramadan during COVID, and the malls were closed, and people typically would go to the malls to collect food, but they couldn't. So there was an initiative started by ex-NMP Irshad, and he worked with different government agencies from People's Association, the CCs, as distribution points, and GovTech to kind of like look at tech and whatnot. And I remember it was like more than 5 government agencies and partners. And then they came together, they raised funds, they raised a few million, and they purchased food and they distributed food during Ramadan. And I think that got a lot of views. I think people saw that was a real need. Another video also food related, with Free Food for All. I think these are all people that Daniel know, because Daniel also in the food space. Free Food for All, we interviewed Carol. I think she recently left, right, from Free Food for All, or she's leaving. So Carol shared a bit about their work, and Carol shared about this volunteer. She shared about how they do volunteer empowerment. So Free Food for All has community food treasures at the void decks as well. And there was a story of how they try to empower their volunteers, people from the community itself, to be kind of like leaders and to manage the distribution. So there was a short story, we included some pictures because we didn't really get to speak to her personally, but Carol mentioned her and mentioned about how she really grew from the experience of stepping up. And that was something that was super heartening. I think some other friends who watched the video also shared that, wow, that was a great story, right? About how they're not just there to receive, but they can also contribute, they can be part of the community, organizing, getting together, bringing people together, distributing the food, etc. Yeah. So those 2 videos were quite high impact.
Yeah. Free Food for All model is very good. They get people, they get the beneficiaries to come forward to volunteer to receive for the community as well. So they're not just handing out free food to them. You're actually empowering members of the community to step forward and also get involved in the whole getting of help. It's not just I sit there, I receive, but I gather my community to step forward to come let's work together and get ourselves out of this problem. So yeah, that I like free football model. Zhong Han, I want to ask you, for somebody who will be watching this, who is watching this video right now, this recording, how can they help you? How can they help you out in your initiative? What help do you need?
I think, well, this is a question. I think we really need help on a lot of fronts. I think if you are someone who has knowledge about content, knowledge about videos, and you are comfortable with helping out, I think it's quite a huge ask because it takes quite long to film and edit just one video. In terms of number of hours, it can be quite labor intensive. So I mean that's one piece. So if you're someone that does video content, or you might know someone else that does video content or whatnot. If you are someone that sees the value in storytelling for causes, and you want to jump on board and build something together, yeah, I'm actually quite open to people coming in as a co-founder at this point because yeah, we are kind of exploring like new ways of doing the content. So yeah, I think those are two ways. One is to jump on board as a co-founder or someone that has really technical expertise in video, in illustrations, in storytelling, someone that has experience working in a comms agency, in a PR agency, yeah, designing campaigns and whatnot. Yeah.
So when you say somebody who to jump on board as a co-founder, what does that actually mean? What does that entail?
It means, I mean, it really depends on what the person wants to do and wants out of the experience. It could be someone that solely focuses on the video. It could be someone that focuses on the social media aspect, on growing the channel. It could be whatsoever that the person wants or can best contribute on in terms of their skill, talents, or what they want to explore personally. Yeah. Actually, whenever I get volunteers in, I'll typically ask them a few questions. So question one is, what are they interested about? What about the work that we do excites them? And second one is, where do you think your expertise lies? Where do you think you contribute the highest impact? And the last thing I'll ask them is what they hope to take away from the experience. So I'll try to cater the volunteer scope to that, which aligns to that. And I'll ask them, is it more important for you at this point to contribute your skills or to pick up new skills that I'm interested in? So I try to create learning opportunities also, because I think for youths that are joining these kind of projects, typically their incentives are three. Usually they join because it's something they're passionate about. So for example, some join us because of the environmental videos that we do, some join us for social issues, focus, so cause-based interest. Second one, they might join us because they find that it's a cool initiative. Some might join because they have specific expertise they want to contribute. Some might join because they want to learn something specific. So I think they want to contribute and learn at the same time. So yeah, these are some of the usual common motivation factors. So I try to make sure that those are satisfied when volunteers join.
Okay. Got time for one more question. I will ask you the question that you just asked, where you just asked your volunteers. What about the work that you do excites you?
So one big reason why I do the work at WTS is because personally I think I'm a very hungry learner. I love learning about new causes. I love talking to people and learning about new issues that I've never been exposed to before. So this whole caregiving thing, zero knowledge before this. The research team came out with like a 3-pager, 4-pager document, and then we discuss what are some questions that we can ask, or where do we think are the pain points, why do you think it's an issue. And we realized that one big issue is caregivers don't know about the existence of the program. Caregivers might not even think that they are overloaded, right? So the research process, the interview process, I think that's what really excites me. The content production side is very, very tiring, and that doesn't excite me so much, but that's a necessary part of the work. Yeah. So I'm more of I love learning, and I also enjoy the connecting part, which is bringing people together, reaching out to partner organizations, sharing with them about our work, getting them on board. Yeah, I think that there's a sense of accomplishment for me when I get to bridge partnerships. So the bridging partnerships and learning, I think those two are the things that excite me. Yeah.
So this is very interesting to me because when I ask you what kind of help you needed, you didn't mention you need help doing the research, finding out all things, or finding people, because that's what you enjoy doing. What you need help with is the part that you don't enjoy doing, which is actually putting together everything that you learn into the medium for telling the story. And that's why you need people to help you to tell story, help people with the technical side of the video, etc. Right? Okay,
yeah, exactly. I think the idea is to build a team where we complement each other's strengths and weaknesses, right? So I think personally, I know that that's not my strong suit. So I'm like, yeah, very open about it.
Okay, cool. We've come to the end of the Q&A section, and thank you, Zhong Han. I know we can stop the recording now.